All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for helping in. It's another day. My name is Ryan Saminima. If you don't know me, I'm my third year medical student studying radiography. My third year, like I said before, and apart from my medical studies, I'm also a proficient medical content writer. I do a lot of writings on my own, medical articles, research based projects. I do writings on scientific projects, medical blog content, medical educational blog content, So I work with healthcare and pharmaceutical companies out there, and also I work with personal clients. So today I have an amazing guest speaker. Hey, doctor, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me. It's such a pleasure.
Yeah, introduce yourself to the audience.
I'm Jamie, Dr. Jamie. I'm a dentist in Canada. I graduated like almost 5 years ago. So, yeah, I'm just practicing general dentistry.
Amazing. Um, Jamie, Jamie, thank you so much for helping as a guest speaker to speak to the audience about things related to dentistry. And
Yeah.
furthermore, yeah, are we ready for the questions?
Yeah, of course. Ask away.
All right. So if I'm looking downwards, is I'm trying to like read the questions to her, so I don't misquote what I'm doing right now. So the the first question goes this way. Okay, before I move into the first question, could you talk about your school a little bit, like the school you graduated from? Tell us more about your school before moving to the
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, sure. I guess that kind of ties into the first question, but I
Yeah.
graduated from University of Toronto,
Mm,
Faculty of Dentistry. I did my undergraduate studies at Queen's University, which is also in Ontario, part of Canada. So I did 4 years of undergrad and then 4 years of dental school, and then I'm working.
that's amazing. That's amazing. That's amazing. Dentistry is amazing course. And was it your intention to study that before?
Um, so I didn't really have a childhood dream of becoming a
Mm,
dentist. I wanted to be an artist or pianist. Um, Nothing really to do with dentistry, and there's no dentist in my family. It was well, now there's three of us, four of us.
mm, amazing.
I have two older siblings, two older sisters, and my oldest sister is 8 years older than me. And so when she was kind of figuring out her career path and she had an interest in dentistry, I was in my college years, my undergraduate years. So I just knew I enjoyed science courses and I wanted to do something within that science field, but I didn't know what. And my oldest sister kind of suggested, "Oh, I think dentistry is good. You should, write the dental admission test." And she literally just gave me her books to study off of. And I just took the test, and that was kind of the first steps towards pursuing dentistry. Um, but yeah, I think the part that really appealed to me was the lifestyle, the flexibility in that lifestyle. I never really wanted to be a medical doctor. I don't know why. I never really loved being in hospitals. And I just felt like as a medical doctor, you need like a special passion to save lives. And I just wasn't that. And so um, I was like, yeah, dentistry is also a mix of like art and science. A lot of people say that, right? And I always loved like making crafts and playing piano, like
Yeah.
using my hands. And so the thought of like using my hands to help people appealed to me a lot. And also, yeah, just being able to, I went on missions trip in undergrad. And just the thought of like dentistry can be very mobile. Like we can bring the tools and help people that way. And so all those things kind of just piqued my interest. And at that time, my sister gave me her book, so I decided to write the test, and the rest is history.
Amazing. That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Dr. Jamie.
Yeah.
Um, the first question goes this way. So, what inspired you to pursue? I think you've
Yeah, I've
tossed
kind
us,
of answered that. Yeah.
but you have to go more deeper a little bit. So, what inspired you to pursue dentistry, and what was your experience like in the university you studied? Tell me more about it.
um, yeah, I think what inspired me was really that missions trip that kind of gave me like, okay, I stepped into taking the dental admission test. I didn't really know what being a dentist really meant now that I've, a couple years of experience. But I think a lot of people think like, yeah, art and science together and helping people using your hands, all those things really just kind of spoke to me. And at the missions trip, it was the like seeing how the dentist can help people tangibly and bringing improvement to people's health was really inspiring to me. And so that was a big like push towards like pursuing dentistry. Um, my experience at the U of T Faculty of Dentistry, it's a really good school, prestigious, has like long years of history. And it's one of the only schools that provide like 10 different specialties within dentistry too, like specialization program within dentistry. So heavy research and things like that, academia wise. I, you know, as with any other dental schools in Canada, it builds good foundation, but yeah, there's so much more to learn after you finish school. Like, it's just the beginning. You have the license, you get to practice, but you learn so much more, and you just have to continue learning.
Amazing, amazing. I want to ask you, what was your specialization in dentistry?
So I'm not specializing anything. I just graduated as like a general dentist. Um,
Oh,
but I
just
did,
like, yeah.
yeah, like some people go into like orthodontics, some like radiology, different specialization, but it's not mandatory. You can just practice general. And I, as I was practicing general dentistry, I found my passion for cosmetic dentistry. So it's not really like a specialization. You don't go into school for cosmetic dentistry, but um, you can definitely find your own passions, and there's that flexibility on what you want to practice within that general dentistry world.
Yeah, absolutely. Because why I asked that question, specialization, because in my course radiography, there's something they call dental radiography.
Hmm.
So it's also a
Cool.
specialization in dentistry, which is amazing. So that prompted me to ask you a lot
Think
of
about it.
questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for sharing what inspired you to pursue dentistry. That's amazing. That's really amazing. And you kudos to your university that you studied, that has all the necessary materials that provided you the necessary resources and materials for you to, study dentistry and come out excellently. Thank you so much for
Mm.
sharing that with us.
Yeah. No problem.
Yeah, the second question goes this way. Are you ready?
Yeah.
So, what challenges did you, encounter, as a young dentist, medical student, in this field, and how did you overcome them? So, what are the challenges you faced back then when you were in dentistry school, and how did you overcame them? And how about today? You're a young medical doctor in specialized in dentistry. So, how are you facing and conquering the challenges you're facing right now?
Well, that's a big question. um, I think in dental school and also like as a young graduate dentist, the biggest challenge that we often face is the imposter syndrome. Like there's that terminology these days, right? Um, and the difference between like medicine and dentistry in North America is you can pursue specialization and residency, but most oftentimes, like me, I just study for 4 years, have like 2 and a 3 years of like 2.5 years of clinicals, and then you are just kind of thrown into the real world. And then you have to just, you don't have instructors to tell you like you're doing this right, you have to just start making the decisions yourself and communicate that to the patient. So it's a really big leap from school to private practice as a dentist. And so I would say that was the biggest challenge, the lack of confidence, lack of mentorship. There's no one
Mm,
like holding your hands through, really. Um, and yeah, just trying to gain, like, do the right thing as a dentist while trying to come on come across confident to the patients. And you have to fake it till you make it, fake it that you're confident even though you're not, you may not be. So that was the most kind of challenging thing outside of graduating dental school. In dental school, the studying part was very vigorous, like studying for exams, you know as with any kind of healthcare studies. It was very, very physically and mentally, emotionally taxing. And I remember every year came with its own challenges. And every year there was like one subject that like kills you. And so I think what pushed us through was like, I'm not in this alone. I have my classmates. They're going through this together, and we'll get through it. And that kind of like camaraderie was like a big thing. And so yeah, it was really mentally, physically taxing at moments, but I just knew, like, I believe in God, and I believe in that higher
mm.
power guiding through my life. And for me to get into dental school was part of that guidance. And I had that confidence, like, if God brought me here, he's going to get me through. And I think that's what I really held on to throughout the 4 years of dental school. And yeah, and now I guess as a dentist who's got a few more years of experience, I've been really investing a lot on personal growth and professional growth, and taking the continuing education courses and connecting with like-minded dentists. You're not alone. I felt really alone in the beginning. Thankfully, I had my oldest sister and my brother-in-law who are also dentists, so they understood exactly what I was going through. And that kind of accountability is really important when you're going through big challenges and you just feel like you're not doing anything right and you're like a failure. But having that person who understands you, who went before you, and gives you that kind of confidence, like, it's okay to feel that way, you will get through. So that was really like a big blessing for me. And nowadays, yeah, like, just seeking mentorship in the area that I want to specialize more in, and taking the CEs. And, I had counseling sessions during COVID, and that really helped me with my mental health and taking care of myself and investing in myself to be healthy in my mind and in my emotional state. And that really comes through at your workplace. And I'm sure that's the same in school too. I struggled a lot, but it's just like you have to really take care of yourself in the midst of all of this.
Wow, 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 wow. You know, I also tell people that you have to have a supporting system. You
Yes.
had a backup. You should, in everything you do, you just have to have a supporting system. It can be your family members, it can be your friend, it can be anybody, like a mentor. Like you said, your sisters and your brothers, they were ahead of you. They've done the dentistry, whatever, and they know the looks and cranny in that course, and they're willing to offer some mentorship for you to overcome some challenges you faced, when back then in dentistry school. I believe that the audience will grab something out of this. So I want to ask you a question. Why did you transit from your country to Canada to study dentistry? Why don't you stay in your country to study? Because I know Korea is an amazing, amazing country. So tell us, why
uh,
did you do that mission?
my parents, they decided to immigrate when I was 10.
Oh,
And so I really didn't have a choice. One day they were
yeah.
like, "We're moving." I was like, "Okay." I love my life in Korea. Whereas my sisters, they were kind of, my oldest sister again. She was like the pioneer. She left to Canada first as an international student, and then we joined in a couple of years after. So, um, yeah, that's
Can
how
can
it came to be.
can you speak your Korean language up until now?
Yeah, I can speak and read and write.
Okay. So how did
Mhm.
you keep in touch with? Because you left your country way younger. So how
Right.
did you stay up to date in terms of the language?
Well, my mom and my dad, like they would just speak to me in Korean, and I only spoke Korean at home.
Oh,
And
okay.
also, I went to Korean church, so at church I spoke Korean, and I also watched Korean dramas, movies, listened to Korean music. It wasn't as heavily like nowadays we have Netflix. It's so easy, just click and watch. But in the past, I
Yeah.
remember like renting the recordings or things like that. Oh my gosh, I sound so old. But anyways,
Back
yeah, it was
then.
kind of like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, and then I
Mhm.
I read a lot in
Mm,
Korean. I read a lot of Korean books, and when I visited Korea, I would buy books at the bookstore and just read in Korean. So yeah.
amazing, 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 amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Dr. Jamin. It's a pleasure. So, are you ready for the third question? You ready?
Yeah.
So, can you share, your memorable, experiences, regarding to your dental practice? Just share an experience that was, wow, that you were wowed, like, it's too memorable up to now. So, tell us about the experience in your dental practice.
um I think the one story that comes to my mind is my very first patient in dental school. And I will never forget his name too. He was a very special patient. I remember um, before I started in third year, we start seeing our own patient. So I remember going to the clinical chair, and I cannot not talk about my faith because that's like part of who I am. And I prayed. It's like whoever walks in to be my patient today, I want to serve them and I want to, just really help them. And and then my first patient walks in because until then I only talked to him over the phone, right? And so I don't know how he looks like or whatever. And then he walks in, and he was I'm not joking. He looked like he was homeless. Yeah, it was. He had like his pants like a little lower, and he had like plastic bags, and and he was like, and then he like had a particular smell too. But I don't know. I just felt like, yeah, it was so like special to me. Like I just engaged with him. I got to know him, and he was like the sweetest person. And at first, the smell was really hard for me, but and my friend, like 3 chairs down, they're like, I could smell him from my chair. How do you, clean his teeth, do fillings on him? But I think he's so special because it's just my first patient, and he encouraged me a lot through the dental school years, and he would always bring me like little notes of encouragement and little gifts, gift cards appreciating my service. And it was a special connection, so I will never kind of forget him. And I remember him bringing me this news article about
Mm,
this person who had to lose all their teeth in his 30s. and he had like three children, and he couldn't get a job. And then this prosthodontist, who's a specialist, dentist in Canada, offered to make free dentures for him. And
Mm,
so he got free smile makeover, and that the article was basically about how that really changed his life, and he was able to get a job and afford and smile and and raise his family and his kids. So at that time I was kind of like, why is he giving me the story, I'm just like, I'm just a dental student. I don't Is this about like giving dental access to everyone? Like, that's so political, like I can't do that. I don't have any power. But then these days I think about it, and as my passion for cosmetic dentistry grows, I actually go back to that article. I still have it. um,
yeah,
I think about that because that's what is possible being a dentist. You can give someone a smile, a new life, in such a way that it's so like transformational. And I think that is like a deep passion and why in my heart, and being a dentist, and that's my calling. And having found that clear direction, it's really helped me to I don't have to like try to keep myself motivated. Like when I think about what is it that I want and why I want it, I go back to that. It's like a full circle moment. Like my very first patient gave me that article, and I think about it, I'm like, yeah, it gives me that sense of direction and purpose in what I do. So that's, I don't know how that came about. I didn't even think about this story. I wasn't gonna share this today, but I was like, yeah, I just felt that heart to share this. So
amazing. That was an amazing, amazing story. And I love the fact that the patient was, bringing back, words of encouragement. Bringing a lot of gifts for you. To show appreciation. And that is what I tell people, also my audience, especially that in everything, if you're in med school, in everything you're doing, what course you're studying radiography, you're doing dentistry, you're doing ophthalmology, optometry, whatever course you're doing, make sure you know what you're doing. Make sure you can, you have the knowledge of that course. So if you, Dr. Jamie, you didn't do very well on that patient wouldn't have come back for to share appreciation. Oh, he
mm,
wouldn't, because you knew what you were doing then. So that's why he said, "Hey, she's an amazing, amazing dental student then, and she knows
oh,
what she's." Yeah, so that's why he brought up position, and just that's what I'm doing my course right now. The grades are really amazing. Getting good grades are really amazing, but that's like a backup. The main thing is the knowledge, the knowledge, because the patient, like you met the patient didn't ask you what was your score in one course, you did in dentistry. No, he was, interested in what you can offer to the table. So that's what I tell people: get the knowledge and also pursue the grades. So make sure you don't know what you're doing. So that was a replica of what I just said, to my past guest speaker I had, a few months ago. So yeah, thank you so much, and I believe that the audience will greatly appreciate that and learn something off it.
oh, thanks. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So we have three more questions to go. How do you feel about that?
I'm okay. Whatever you want to ask. I'm easy.
Okay, I'm speaking with the doctor here. I should mind my words, So yeah, you get me. Um, so the first question goes this way. How do you follow? There are new technologies and new developments in dentistry. So, how do you follow new developments and technologies in dentistry to improve your practice as a doctor in dentistry? So, what are your thoughts on that?
um, so like technology is always evolving. That's one thing that you don't really learn a lot from dental school. So, and being an associate, I don't own my own practice. You really have to, um, in the beginning, you can focus on building good foundation, getting yourself into the real world. But eventually, you do have to see, like, is this a place that I can learn more about technology, and are they practicing digital dentistry? So you have to really find the homes really well where you can see yourself growing in that area. And yeah, also there are so many continuing education courses in dentistry that you can take and keep yourself up to date. You can keep reading journal articles to keep yourself up to date. But I think the most practical thing is to really find a home or the work office where you can learn those things. And if the principal dentist is more experienced and the office itself is more innovative, progressive in that way, then you will definitely get that mentorship and show that.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that with us, Dr. Jemmy. Um, so quick question is, you narrated something about reading journals, right? Because you know the internet, the social media, there are things that you know fake stuffs coming up on social media. So when you talked about this journal aspect, do you have any like a site, where maybe there are also dental students that are going to watch this video? So is there any website like an app where they can have access to all this, some of the journals you mentioned? Do you have any idea about that?
So I'm actually taking these courses under Coyce Center. It's based in Seattle by Dr. John Coyce. It's one of the big like institute where they teach about dentistry and bite and treatment planning, all the more advanced stuff outside of dental school. Um, and the thing about his courses is he reads like 20 journals every month to keep his content up to date. And then he holds like annual conferences to update what is the latest evidence. So I started to take his courses, and his course book has all these journals that back up what he's teaching. So that's like one way to get access to like legitimate, good source. Um, you can really just go on those journal websites. Clearly, I don't do that myself. Um, but yeah, I think there are reputable sources of journal articles that you can access. You might have to pay memberships.
Yeah,
And also, I think there's a website called Dental Town that you can, it's like a forum based kind of thing. Dentists kind of discuss different topics on there, and you can try to find answers there too.
thank you so much for that recommendation. Absolutely. So the fifth question goes this way. Are you ready?
Hmm.
Um, do you participate in the dental community, and educate dentists in need? Do you do that? Tell us.
So, um, I was kind of confused about this question, but if you're asking me if I volunteer or like teach dentists, like I'm not
Yeah,
right.
yeah, like your past, like the story you mentioned about, like, you know, the patient was really homeless, something like that. So did you, yeah, like a voluntary, role to helping, other, like, move, like, for instance, like, if you come to Africa, there are places that, really, that the dental systems are really poor. Do you go for like a voluntary job where you help people, take good care of their dental, you know
Yeah,
systems and stuff?
so dental missions is definitely part of my passion. Although lately I've been so focused on investing in myself and investing in my professional growth. I haven't had a chance to like go to a trip myself, like globally or, locally. Um, but in dental school, I did go on dental missions trip and went to Honduras, Mexico, different places like that. And I really hope to get back on that in the near future.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. Um, so the last question goes this way. Dr. Jemmy, you've been an amazing, amazing guest speaker. Thank you so much for hopping in. It's a great pleasure to have you on this
Aw.
podcast. So the last question goes this way. Are you ready?
Yeah,
You're already looking at the questions, right?
I have it.
Okay. Okay. So, okay, should I read it out or should just move into the question? Okay, I have to read it out for the audience, right?
Yeah.
What advice would you give to dentistry medical students out there or young people who want to develop their careers in different professions out there? So, what are your advice for them?
Um, so I have the thing is so funny. Like you gave me these questions and I like kind of thought about what to say. But sometimes you just feel this like nudge to say something else. So I like to just go by what I feel like in the moment. Um, but I think for dental students, biggest thing, like even for young dentists, like for anyone, like I think try not to compare yourself to your classmates or other colleagues. Everybody's journey is different, and your journey is uniquely yours. That's what I always say in my social media platforms. That's like a motto that I have. And just because that person did that thing doesn't mean that you have to do the same thing, but also that you can gain a lot of wisdom from what they've gone through or what they're pursuing. And so you have the openness to receive wisdom and insight so that you don't have to go yourself, the experiences, but and you don't have to feel like you're lower inferior to other people or superior. Just do what you have to do. And I think my whole journey with social media, that's how we connected, right? Through Instagram. Um, the social media is a way for me to give back too. It's a way for me to grow myself, but also a way for me to give back. And that's really interesting for me because I just started it with the hopes to like put myself out there, get out of my comfort zone. Um, but in the process, you know, I just felt like I have something to give. And whether you're a dental student or a young dentist battling with something, everyone has something to give. And my hope is that with social media, me sharing my journey to cosmetic dentistry and other projects that I have, um, that will inspire those people. And I know exactly what it feels to be in that space of like battling with insecurities, confidence, imposter syndromes, and all that stuff that you have to deal internally. So yeah, I empathize with those who might be going through that. And when you asked me that question, I was like, yeah, I think of my young self, like 5 years back, 6 years back. What would I tell myself? And it's okay if you feel like you're just surviving each day. Some people may be in the space that I just feel like I'm survival mode. I just feel like I'm surviving each day. There's nothing like no passion, or there is something that I want to be passionate about, but I can't find it right now. And I'm just trying to get through each day. And and that is okay. And that's where I was before. And that was a hard place. It's not a fun place, but everyone has different seasons. And in that season, all you can do is enduring and surviving. And if you endure through that season, it will come to an end. Nothing lasts forever. Just like, our seasons in life, we have spring, summer, fall, winter. Winter doesn't last forever. Although there are parts where you can go and it's winter 24/7. But in general, like, seasons cycle. And so I just wanted to kind of share that words of encouragement to people who might be feeling like they're stuck and they're feeling, I'm just surviving. Like, I can't be like Dr. Jamie on Instagram. She seems so motivated, like running and doing all these things. I'm like, I was not like this before. And I know exactly what it feels like to be that way. And you don't have to feel inferior or insecure about where you are. This is just a season that will come to an end. Take day by day. And by the end of that season, you will come out of it stronger. And then you will have a new season where you can be filled with passion and ambition. So that's it.
Wow, thank you so much, Dr. Jenny, for sharing those amazing nuggets. For aspiring medical dentistry students out there and people looking forward to expanding their career. And thank you so much for answering these questions. For the audience to majorly get enlightened. It's a great pleasure. So, what are your last word for the audience for we wrap up the session?
Well, thanks for having me. And it's been a pleasure to be able to share what's been on my heart. And I really hope that the words that I spoke today touches people's heart and just find comfort and healing and peace. And that's my hope. And yeah, you can connect with me on Instagram. I started YouTube, so many other contents. So I'm available.
Yeah, he's but just if you have any question, just you know, although we're gonna put the her YouTube and Instagram links in the description below, so just have to connect with her. Thank you so much. Do well to like, comment, and share to your network, and hopefully you touch someone's life out there. Thank you so much. You have a good day.
Bye.
And right now, hold on.